Welcome to the Propertybuyer Podcast, where we explore the world of residential and commercial real estate to help you make better decisions about buying, selling, or investing in all types of property. Join me, Rich Harvey, CEO of Propertybuyer.com.au and multi-award-winning buyer's advocate. Our podcast features expert interviews, market trends and insights, and practical tips for navigating the complex world of Australian real estate. Whether you're a home buyer, a seasoned property investor, commercial buyer, developer, or simply curious about the property market, our podcast is for you. Join us as we share our knowledge, strategies, and experience and help you achieve your property goals. Welcome to another edition of the Propertybuyer Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ewan Morton, Managing Director of Morton Real Estate, a business he co-founded with his father and has since grown into a highly successful agency with 8 offices and around 100 staff in Sydney. With over 25 years industry experience, Ewan is known not only for his business acumen, but also for his leadership in shaping industry standards. He served as a director on the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales and sat on its board for more than a decade, advocating for higher levels of professionalism, transparency and trust in the property sector. Ewan has built a reputation for straight-talking honesty and championing integrity in real estate. He's passionate about helping buyers and sellers navigate the market with confidence, and he's never been afraid to call out practices that undermine consumer trust. On today's episode, we'll be exploring a topic that sparks plenty of debate: underquoting. Why does it persist? What impacts does it have on buyers and sellers? And what can be done to finally break the cycle? And we'll also look at current market condition and what's ahead for the spring and the summer seasons. Ewan Morton, welcome to the Property Buyer Podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's great to have you on. I've often wanted to have you as a guest, and it's a real pleasure today. We have a little tradition which has got a philosophical bent, and I'm going to throw you this quote and love your reaction to it. And the thought is from the famous philosopher Aristotle, who said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." What do you take from that?
Oh, I couldn't agree with Aristotle more. I think often we, want to be really great at something and we fly at it with enormous gusto and energy when in fact what we've got to do is think it through about what are the habits that are going to fit with that. There's the book Atomic Habits that a lot of people know about, and that's pretty much the philosophy of that. Yeah. If you want to be successful at something, you decide what you need to do it and then set it up to do it regularly.
Yeah, perfect. Love that. Yeah, I love that book. I've read it several times, and James Clear wrote it. Yeah, really, really good book. Actually, I was thinking the other day, is a great quote I heard, that discipline trumps motivation every day of the week, doesn't it?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So you've started business quite some time ago with your dad, and you've built quite a substantial number of offices. Tell me about how your early experiences shaped your views on honesty and transparency, particularly when it came to quoting property prices, please.
Well, I think in the beginning, I can remember doing my first auctions, and it was very clear to me at the time that the goal of an auction, if you want it to be successful and also for it to be a winning outcome for the vendor, the buyer, the loser, i.e. the buyer who doesn't win, and you.
Yep, got it. So you had to align both parties.
But the thing that at that time, it was a very different situation because agents felt that they needed to influence buyer behaviour by effectively playing tricks. So
the good old
dummy bidding, that sort of thing. Dummy bidding or the bid off the wall, that type of stuff. So everyone did that. And also you have to remember, the key to a successful auction is getting your quote price right. And often the quote price, which is where buyers are going to see value, i.e. they think your price is fair, is often not at the level that a vendor thinks. So they often think it's worth more than what it actually is. And in selling a property, part of the process is educating a vendor on what something is really worth.
Yep.
And back in the day, I could go in and someone would say, what's my house worth? And I said, it's $1 million. And they go, oh, great, thanks, Ewan. And I explain why, like I give them resales and comparisons and all that type of stuff. And they're like, thanks, Ewan. I really appreciate you being honest with me and giving me that. But it was disappointing information for them to get. And then the next agent would come in and say 1.2 and they'd get the listing. Mm. And at that time, information wasn't as transparent in terms of pricing. So we as the agents held a lot of that pricing. Yeah. And vendors maybe weren't educated as they needed to be, and they would believe 1.2 man. Mm. And I always say, well, that's all great. So 1.2 man gets the listing. He's hopping into his BMW and I'm hopping into my Suzuki Swift. Mm. And I only get paid if I list the property and then I sell it.
So he's winning business on the basis of a lie. Mm.
Well, pretty much. So I used to call myself, I thought, okay, so I need to be Ewan the honest liar. So all the franchise people, they taught people, like the auction process was, go high with the vendor, go low with the buyer, and use the auction process to smash it together. That's why everyone hated it so much.
Mm. Yeah.
But the thing is, everybody is complicit in that. Like, I know everyone gets stuck into the agents for lying, but look at the vendor too, right? They're sitting there wanting more profit, more than what it's worth, and they're going to listen to the person who tells them the most.
Mm. Yep.
So as an agent, an honest agent, how do you survive in that if that's not going to be the case? And a lot of people don't realize that what's sitting around it is the agents there trying to gauge a few things. Firstly, am I going to list it? What's the motivation of this vendor? How well am I going to get on with these people? Will these people actually listen to me? Does the vendor actually know what it's worth and they're lying to me because they sort of want to, build me up thinking that's a great technique in order to get the best price? There's a lot going on there, which makes it a emotional minefield for everyone.
So as you're describing that, there's so much to read between the lines in that.
100%. Like, one of the things I say, Rich, sometimes is that the thing about a real estate transaction is everybody is lying.
Yeah.
Now, are they lying? Or are they negotiating? Fine line, right? Fine line. Like, when a buyer is negotiating, are they telling me the truth of their situation? Yeah. Or are they saying whatever they need to say to get the cheapest possible price?
So talking of lines, how do you define underquoting? Where do you think the line is between fair strategy and misleading practice?
So I think what you have to do, the key to a successful auction is to be able to tell your buyers, so to quote a range that lines up with comparable sales.
Yep.
Right. You've got to back it up.
Yep.
So if you are too low, right, you've got to remember buyers are very well qualified. By the time they get to the point that they're ready to purchase, they are fully cognizant, fully familiar with what market conditions are, and they know what the value is. So if it's in that example of $1 million and you're quoting 800,000, they're going, mate, you're just full of it. Like, they know that's too low. Now, they may just ignore what the agent is saying because they know it's $1 million and they're seasoned enough by that point to keep pushing forward with it. But worse, if you are too high, say 1.2 or 1.1, then a fully qualified buyer who's ready to act will just discount the property and go, like, I'm not going to even bother with that because they obviously want too much money. Everybody knows it's worth $1 million. I'm just not going to engage.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. So buyers are hoping to get it for cheap. Vendors are hoping to get an above market result. And the agents in the middle trying to bring all of this together to either get an above market result, because that's what we're paid to do, or worst case scenario, a fair price.
In terms of defining it, do you think it's do you think they can, is it 10%? Is it 20%? Is it 30%? Is there any kind of line you'd draw in a sort of percentage over or under, I should say, for underquoting?
What, in terms of where you quote?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I think that was certainly at the moment, the OFT is very focused on this. And I think and it depends where you are, to be honest. In certain sections of Sydney, if you quote the right range, they think you're lying already. Like, it is so endemic. Like, I reckon somewhere like the eastern suburbs, it's so endemic that if you tell a buyer the right range, they think you're lying anyway. So what do you do about that? And think, oh, bloody hell, well, I better drop it down so that I'm meeting expectation, you know?
That's funny.
So it's very messy and it's very, very complicated. And I think the answer to that, and I suppose you know this being a buyer's agent, is from a buyer's point of view, do your research.
Exactly.
Understand, like when they talk about buyers missing out and spending all the money, like you're in a commercial transaction where you've got a group of people that's going to try and get you to pay as much as possible for a property. So do your research, be familiar with what sale prices are and know value. And then if you choose to pay more, you know why you're doing it. Like there's a good reason for why you do it, right?
So what made you sort of concerned about underquoting when you first became aware? Was there a particular case or a moment in your career that really opened up your eyes to the consequence of underquoting?
I remember, like, this is going back to my very, very early days when I did my very first auction.
Yeah.
And this was interesting. And you can argue, did I underquote it or not underquote it? It's debatable. It was actually a waterfront. It was an apartment in Waverton that had water views. Yeah. And it actually, when I looked at the comparables, the price was $290,000.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? For a 2-bedroom. Well, I might have been a 3-bedroom. Yeah, like ridiculous. Now, I did all my comparable research, so that's what I quoted. Now, the thing is, the market had picked up and actually it sold for 410.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, I didn't mean that to happen. Like, I was actually trying to be careful and to be but the market picked up. And as it turns out, this property was, like, even now you wouldn't be able to price it. It was in a really good spot and it had a water view that was never going to be built up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so people lined up, paid 410. Now, I actually then, it was an in-rooms auction. I had to get in the lift with all the people who'd come to bid. So we had like hundreds of people.
Awkward.
And I was in the lift with all the people. And it was so funny. I'm standing there in the thing and they're all around me. I'm in the center of the lift. And someone just goes, well, Ewan, little bit of difference there. You know, and I just remember being so embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, what I learned from that is some properties go bananas.
Yeah, because of market conditions, and that's just what it is. You can't control
Or what it is. Like, particularly in Sydney, I probably was not experienced enough to know that this particular property at the time was going to go bananas because of what it was, right?
Yeah.
So you could argue that if I'd known more, maybe I would have realised this was a winner. But that happens all the time too, where, you know, you've got something, you line up all the comparables, it looks like it's $2 million any day of the week, and then for whatever happens, the human circumstances that sit around that sale in terms of the buyers, the quality of the property or the type of property, where it is, it captures the imagination of the buying public and you get an outrageous result.
There you go. Yeah.
So, and then everyone screams underquoting, and it's like, was it, or was it actually just a hot property? So there used to be, I think we are a lot more responsible now. Well, I'd like to think we are.
Do you think that, like, as a past board member on the Real Estate Institute, do you think there's what role do you think that the peak bodies should play in curbing underquoting?
Well, obviously the Real Estate Institute has a set of values and a code of conduct and a whole range of things that they expect people to be part of, and they have chapters, the auction chapter, property, all the different chapters that deal with these issues. I think one of the things that the Institute and the OFT have got in common is they want fair and ethical practice.
Yeah.
So I think the two organisations working together to get ethical practice, I think, they do that, and it's important that they do that in terms of doing it. And then, even when you get an investigation into underquoting, and it's a very grey area. It can be a very grey area as to was it underquoting or not.
Yeah.
And there's arguments on both sides of it. But I think the key thing is you've got to be able to back up your true estimate of value with comparables, and that should fit with what you're quoting. Now, the only thing is where that comes a cropper, that's all very well when you're in a flat market or an up market. Where it becomes an issue is when we're in a declining market. So you might have had something that was $1 million, but the next one coming is 950 because the market's declined. And I think that's where things get tricky of trying to make a call on that. And how do you deal with that when you actually may have the buyer interest choice isn't there at the $1 million, it's lower. So yeah, it is a minefield.
It's a minefield. Well, talking of minefields, what are the legal frameworks around underquoting that exist now? I mean, some new laws have come in New South Wales and other states, but where are these laws? What are the frameworks, and what's working well? What are the gaps in the laws?
Well, it all comes down to your true estimate of value. Like the OFT has ramped things up recently, and they probably needed to, based on some of the behaviour that we've seen coming out. And I think that people had forgotten what the law was. Not that there needed to be new laws. I just think people were ignoring it. So, you know, if you are, like we as a firm take the true estimate of value seriously. And if you're an agent who knows what they're doing, like you explain what that means is the law says I need to give a true estimate of value based on comparables, which I've just taken you through. What do you reckon from the point of view of value? Just because that's what I think, that doesn't mean we're not going to get more, and it doesn't mean you can't ask more, but I would be irresponsible if I didn't tell you what it is. And the law backs us up. This is the thing. Like, as I just say, would you want me to go to prison or not? Make your choice. I don't want to go to prison, so I'm going to tell you the truth. Is that okay?
That's a good line.
I think a lot of people get scared of using the law as a thing. And, you know, when they talk about, and that's why they say everyone says that agents are liars and they're all full of it. Well, I think buyers and sellers also have to look at their own motivations in all of this. Like one of the things I learned in the beginning is that the most important thing that I've got as a real estate agent is my integrity. Absolutely. And I tell you, vendors and buyers will abuse that.
Of course.
Because they don't care.
No.
You know, if I come out of it.
One transaction, squeeze the life out of you and move on to the next property.
100%. And if I take it, so it's things like, you know, when you get two buyers going at once and, you know, one person's going to miss out. As an agent, you've got to manage that very carefully because your reputation's on the line.
The line that comes to me, Ewan, it's a bit of a cliche, but buyers are liars. You know, a lot of agents sort of will know how particular buyers. I mean, I use that flippantly in the sense that people play their cards close to their chest. I mean, I know, you know, so many times that I listen to conversations, and agents are very good at asking people, what do you think it's worth? And a lot of people just clam up and, I don't know, we'll throw a stupid number at them and they'll all come. And obviously a good agent will try to extract at a pre-auction what most of the buyers are willing to pay. But then everybody knows that under the pressure cooker environment of auctions, they're all going to typically increase their said limit, you know, and it's quite, I always love watching the body language at auctions, you know, where, you know, the partners are ribbing each other. Oh, you've got to pay, come on, just another 50, just another 100, you know, and it keeps going up because they really want it. Yeah.
And they want it for a reason. This is the other thing too, is of course, not everybody, you know, of course everybody doesn't pay all their cards like that, you know, if everybody did, we probably wouldn't need us.
Yeah.
You know, but while we have humans in the middle of all these transactions, you need to have middlemen to try and work it out.
Well, that's right.
We really appreciate you tuning in to the Property Buyer Podcast, and I hope that you're finding our expert interviews helpful. So that we can keep providing this information and growing our audience, we rely on word-of-mouth recommendations. If you found this information useful, could I please ask you to share this podcast with your friends, family and colleagues and ask them to subscribe to the Property Buyer Podcast. It would be a big help and we'd be very grateful for your support. Thanks once again for sharing the links. And now let's get back to the podcast.
So why do you think underquoting continues to happen? I mean, despite there's a legality around it, what incentives are pushing agents or vendors to do it?
Fear.
Yeah.
I think, when you're it's far easier to take your range up than it is to bring your range down.
Yeah.
And in terms of how buyers work, if you go too high on your range, you will cook your campaign.
Yeah.
And people need to understand why that is. So, and everybody needs to understand, like everyone thinks that, like vendors, for example, think they can go out at a high price and then someone eventually will come along and pay it, but that's not true. Because when you hit the market with a property, you have a bunch of hot qualified buyers ready to go that have been at it for anywhere from 3 months to 12 months, if not longer.
Yeah.
So they are ready and primed to buy. So that's when you see things selling fast, is because the buyers are ready to go, and a good agent knows how to leverage that.
Yeah. What's that catchphrase? Quote it low and watch it go. Is that the right phrasing?
Well, I wouldn't even say, but see, that's underquoting as well.
Yeah.
And also that's an old-fashioned expression.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that when people are quoting properties, they are definitely in the first week feeling it out, like they're not sure, and particularly if you're in a dynamic market. And also you can have the thing where you think it's going to be easy, or you think, okay, this is going to be ripper. Then there's something about the property that you may have appreciated but didn't realize the effect that would have on the buying public, and you might hit a point in the market where things are flat. So like right now, we're seeing buyer numbers decrease.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? It means, so I've said to my team, you be very careful with the buyers that you've got that are ready to buy. And what's the message to vendors? Respect the buyer, because you may not have another one.
Yeah, cool. Well,
right.
Let's talk about the consequences of underquoting, if we may, Ewan. Like from a buyer's perspective, what are the most harmful consequences of underquoting? I mean, is it just time wasted, disappointment? Talk us through what's going to happen to the buyer.
Oh, of course. Like everyone hates missing out. But again, a good agent, if I think about where we've been accused of underquoting in the past, it always comes from a left field source, not the buyers that you've been working closely with. So again, the buyers that are lining up, so if you've got 4 people who are registering to bid, they are well-qualified buyers. They know full well what's going on, and also you're having detailed conversations about where the price might go. And if you are a good agent, you're being completely transparent with each of those buyers as to what the competition is.
Yep.
So they've already seen the comparable sales. We'll all be in agreement as to what we think a fair price is. So if they're all 4 buyers are thinking fair price, well, then they can all go into a room and they can compete with each other. And each one of those 4 people can make their own decisions as to what they're going to pay.
Yeah.
That's the key, right? So it's like patronizing. Like I just think, don't patronize a buyer by trying to predict what they're going to pay. Create an environment of fair competition, and then make their own choices. So do we have sneaky tricks to make a buyer pay more? Not really. We're just going, okay, here you are. You're all at $1 million. You're all in the room. The reserve is at a level that's competitive. So go for it. Do your thing. You can see your competition, right? Yeah, that's much better than trying to trade trying to buy it when you can't see the buyers, and knock yourself out. And you'll find most buyers, though, if they're mature, they're sensible, they've thought it through, they know what they're doing, and the person that may pay the top dollar, maybe they've paid less than what they would have been prepared to go. You just don't know. But at the end of the day, they were the one who's prepared to pay the most on the day, and you do the deal.
Okay.
So. Yeah. So I think that's, yeah. So I think I get a bit sort of cranky about agents need to be better at being able to handle these situations with a degree of sophistication. But there's all sorts of, getting that price range. I can tell you getting the quoting range right is a tricky business. And if you are too high, you're not acting in the best interest of your vendor, because you'll cook it and you won't be selling it, and potentially you could be writing the price down, as we call it.
This is getting into the next question, which is I'm going to ask you. Yeah. What's the impact of underquoting on vendors? Is there a loss of another long-term brand or transactional cost to reputational trust here for agents?
Well, I don't think vendors care. If I'm brutal. They just want the best price. And this is where it comes down to an integrity thing. Like, obviously, as an agent, you've got to manage your integrity in the marketplace, whether it's through buyers and sellers. Yeah. But, vendors would be like, just get me the best price. I don't care how you do it. I think things have changed a bit.
Prior to this, just to jump in there, this is what you said to me prior. Does underquoting really work for the vendor? Does it really work? I don't think it does, when you sort of come out to it. Like you say, if you price it correctly and lead the buyers, with education, they're all going to get in a room and fight it out together.
It's like, again, you've got to gauge your buyer's situation and your market conditions. I would have thought, I wouldn't, say with a buyer's agent, for example, this is why we like buyer's agents, is no one really has a discussion about underquoting or overquoting or any quoting, because we're both educated as to what's happening in the marketplace and we know what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah. Forget the fluff, exactly where it needs to trade at and what's going to happen on the end of the day.
That's it. And also, as a buyer's agent, you know full well that vendors are on journeys.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
So I think this is part of the thing too, is that, it's like that great line is, can you handle the truth? Yeah. An agent has to tell the vendor the truth. And take them on a journey to get to the truth. But I tell you what, sometimes people don't want to hear it.
And that truth might be, hey, you know what? There was actually 3 groups through last weekend. The interest has really dropped off. Your expectation of a $5.5 million result isn't going to happen. It's going to more likely be 4.5. We need to talk about that reserve you wanted to set at 5.25. It really is going to overcook it. Let's have that conversation now instead of on the auction floor.
Yes, depending on your vendor circumstances, where you're at in the campaign, the relationship you've got, and their circumstances. But yes, we only get paid when we sell it.
Yeah, and equally, you have a conversation if the market's going nuts, and you say, "Oh, we had 50 groups through last week. We've got 30 contracts out. We actually need to revise the guide so that we're in line with all the regulations."
Well, and also from a practical point of view, if you've got that level of interest, then obviously your guide's too low. Yeah. But you also want to make sure you've qualified that, because you can get cases where it looks like you've got lots of interest and then you end up in none. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's not a fixed science. I think with this whole thing, everyone's trying to make it a fixed situation. Correct. But I think it's actually everybody's feeling their way, and in particular the agent, because the agent needs to bring the buyers and the sellers together. Like, at the end of the day, the buyers have to come to a point, and the sellers as well. So again, I would say to vendors is go and do your own research about value. Like, I'm looking at the same information you're looking at. You're probably smarter than me and probably can use a spreadsheet better than I can.
Yeah.
So you do your own analysis, and what does your analysis say? And what I'd say to a vendor is, if you firstly, do you want to sell it? That's the key thing. Like, do you want to sell it? Yeah. Like, if you don't want to sell it, then don't bother with any of this stuff. But if you do, then you've got to price it at a point where the buyers are going to look at it and go, do you know what? That's a fair price. I will now engage. And the thing is, people do put a lot of effort into buying properties. They do, right? And depending on where it is, like obviously in some areas of Sydney, yes, there's going to be competition. It's the way it is. Yeah. And all we can do is provide an open and equal playing field for you to be able to line up and to buy this property. And we're all looking at the same information, and everyone can make their calls from there.
Is there a moral or an ethical code that most agents observe around quoting, or is it a more of what the market allows?
Is there a moral or an ethical code? Look, I mean, as I said before, the most important thing that an agent has is their integrity. And you need to be able to operate in a way that people see you as honest. And so therefore how you quote your properties and how you handle pricing discussions with buyers is a very key part to that. So yeah, like if you are an unethical, and it's like everywhere, if you're unethical, you don't care, whatever, you do pay a price for that, for your reputation. And it's like it takes a long time to build up a good reputation. It's very quick to destroy it.
Yep, got it.
And we get it now. We got vendors. Like we'll have vendors who want to plant their own dummies. Mate, we will go, no, you won't do that.
No way. It's not going to work. No.
Firstly, it's illegal. And secondly, you're playing with my reputation.
Ain't going to work. No, move on.
No.
I want them as a client.
No. And also the other thing too, I think, is the older you get, the more you know that doing business the right way is the right long-term strategy. I think when you were younger and maybe not as au fait with the ways of the world, they can make stupid decisions which could be centered around greed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Are there, you mentioned the eastern suburbs, but are there particular property types, price segments or suburbs where you are really seeing underquoting is an endemic problem?
Look, I mean, as I mentioned before, it's like when you're selling something, and not that we often go into the eastern suburbs, but when you do, what you quote the property is a big discussion because it would seem that the buying public is so used to it that they make their own adjustments.
That's it,
and they don't mind.
That's right.
They that's fine.
There's a price. So then they make add 15 to 20%.
And that's okay. Yeah. Like we know that's the system, so we're happy with that. But also, you are in when you look at the eastern suburbs or the inner west or something like, you are in areas which is hot. Even in a down market,
exactly.
Still
even
hot.
In a down market, there's such a shortage of listings perpetually in those areas that it's naturally going.
Completely, and it's actually going to get worse because the turnover, like in terms of the length of time that people are holding properties, is getting in well-established areas is getting longer and longer and longer, and it's going to get to the point that if you want to buy in a hot suburb, it's going to be like, well, you have to buy this one, but I don't like that one. Doesn't matter. It's the only one you're going to get.
That's what's available.
That's it. And you know what? Stand back and be spanked because there's a lot of people like you going to do it. So in that particular case, when you get that, you just have to be, I think it's about being transparent with each buyer with what the competition is.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so it's like, you know what? There's 10 contract holders and that's what you're going to be fighting against.
Yeah. So what's the fine if the OFT would apply if you overquote and get pinged for it? What's the number? What do you get fined by? How much?
I don't even know.
I think it's only about
a lot.
I think is it? I thought it was only about $22,000. I'll have to check.
Only?
Yeah.
That seems like enough to me.
Yeah. But I don't think it was a big enough slap on the wrist. So I think the number is a bit what's the word? A bit low. But
I think the problem with the OFT is out there looking at auctions. They're tightening things up a lot. There was a recent spate of articles, obviously, in the Sydney Morning Herald, which I think is all good. Because part of that will put the fear of God into people. And I think gives the agents a tool to have better discussions with vendors and with buyers.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, well, my true estimate is X. I base it on 1, 2, 3 comparables. Like you tell me whether I'm full of crap or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You make your own decision. And if you're happy at that level, fine. Let's proceed.
Yeah.
If you're not, don't proceed.
Yeah.
It's easy. So, and it's like the best I can do for you, Mr. Buyer, is there are 5 contract holders at the moment. 4 of them have done building and pest inspections. 3 of them are saying that they've actually pre-registered. There is competition for this. Do you wish to proceed? Yes, you do. Okay, well, be prepared that you may have to pay over the range, but that is your choice.
Yep.
Right?
So there's a
your
fine.
Choice.
The fine, just to be clear, just to go back one step, the fine, there's an immediate penalty infringement notice of $2,200 and potentially a court-imposed fine of $22,000 along with loss of permission. So that's the thing. I think, there's like you get pinged, you get your speeding fine for $2,000 plus GST. And then you can also, if there's a prosecuted court case, it's 22 grand. So I don't think, in my view, the fines are big enough as a disincentive. I think there should be, do it twice and you're on notice to lose your license. 3 times you're out of the industry,
Well, Richard, why don't you have a look at the number of successful prosecutions? How many have there been?
Well, very, very few. That's the thing.
And why is that?
It's so hard to prosecute because of
100%
the grey area. That's why, exactly what we've been talking about.
Is it underquoting or not underquoting? Like, exactly. We had one recently.
How much? We had one recent.
Yeah, like we had one recently that I forget what it was. It's like we were quoting 1.75. Anyway, it was a house, a lot of trouble, a lot of problems. And then as building inspections were done, it turned out that the roof was about to cave in, right?
Yeah.
And so actually the agent was panicking, thinking, oh my God, I think this might be 1.5. With all and this is on the feedback and what people were saying and all that type of stuff. The thing sold for 2.225. Right now, we ourselves, like we honestly were like, oh my God, we're in trouble here. But then we weren't, and it was bought by somebody who was buying something for their child.
There you go.
So you were like, right, okay, didn't see that coming. So it is a very tricky business, and part of the reason I think part of the reason is an under-resourcing of the OFT, no doubt about that. But I also think it's trying to get the objectivity into what is largely a subjective matter. And certainly where we've had a couple of investigations over the years, but what they look for is what's your estimated selling price? What are your comparables? They go over that, and if that makes sense, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. So simple message for agents, just follow the compliance rules and you'll be fine. But let's talk about buyers just one more time. How can buyers protect themselves? What due diligence do they need to do if they think a listing seems too cheap and underquoted?
Well, I think they need to understand the market. So knowing that a property is being underquoted could be an opportunity for a buyer. So, for example, the buyer's done all their research. They go, this is $1 million, and it's been quoted at 800, as an example. Well, either one, there's going to be a frenzy for it, or a whole lot of people that aren't actually, who are going to get sucked in by that, right? And from a buyer's point of view, if you've got a full clear of value, well, then you can just sit back and wait and then get in there and buy it at $1 million. Or you might find that that's an opportunity for you because, everybody's stalling out at 950. You stick on your 950, you got it for 50 grand cheaper. So a lot of these things is the perception of value is a tricky thing. So I think the best thing a buyer can do is be educated. Like I was talking to someone last weekend. They were going to buy a property and they honestly thought they're going to go out for one Saturday and they'd have bought it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, this is what, if you want to lose, do you want it, like by doing that, you might overspend by, 10%.
Yeah.
So as a buyer, the best protection you've got is, know your market, see all the stock, visibly go and look at it, watch some auctions and see what happens and goes. And the other thing is be nice to the agent. This is the dumb thing, like because the thing is, a buyer only buys when they choose to sign the contract.
Yeah.
So until you do that, you are protected. So an agent has got lots of information that can help you understand the vendor situation, what's happening, the competition. And if you're nice to the agent and work with them, they can make sure that you're armed with all the information so you know what you're competing against.
So you are describing exactly what I do and my team do as buyer's agents. We're the ultimate protection for the buyer in this situation. We are extremely professional and nice to agents because we know we get all of that information from the agents we work with. Because we're a repeat buyer. We have very extensive relationships with agents right across Sydney. And they're happy to generally share how many contracts out, you know, where
100%.
Where do you think it's going to be?
100%.
We also share intel with the agents about, even if we're not interested in the property, agents will ask me, Rich, what do you think it's worth? And I'll give them feedback, honest feedback, to say, honestly, I think it's pitched here. I think it's going to suit this kind of buyer, you know. And it's a two-way conversation. But go on.
Yeah, and also you know full well what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So you're able to talk to an agent, talk about the vendor circumstances, and you know full well, like as you do your negotiation tactics, you want to know that your vendor is in a position to deal emotionally.
Yeah.
So you understand that.
We've just had a case today, actually, with one of our team members where we had an off-market property and the vendors reneged. We had a deal agreed, contracts, you know, reviewed, and then the vendor's going, no, actually, I'm going to stay here for another 10 years. We go, far out. Yeah. So knowing that a vendor is going to sell and gets to a tipping point, that's super important.
That's it.
Yeah. This has been a great discussion. I just want to change tracks, if we may.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you briefly about current market conditions, if we could. Yeah. Tell us about what you are seeing across Sydney. Are we seeing more confidence with buyers now that we've had a couple of rate cuts?
Yeah, definitely. So the way I manage our sort of sales team is I like to be more than the same month in the previous year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And for the first half of this year, we were below.
Right.
And that all related to the increase in interest rates. So now for the last 3 months, we've been above. And so there seems to be confidence in transacting and people accepting where things are at. So people wanting to get on and do deals, definitely. Although I have noticed that our buyer inquiry across the board is dropping. And an interesting stat from September so far, the number of buyer inquiries and the number of open for inspection people is the same. Normally you have a lot more inquiries than you do having people actually turn up to the OFIs. So the fact that we've got an equivalence on that says, okay, buyers are potentially either purchased or pulling back, or for whatever reason, there's less of them. So from a vendor point of view, you need to navigate that carefully.
Interesting. Okay. So I want to talk to you about, I guess, the segments of the market. What segments or price points of the market? Are we talking prestige, downsizers, first-time buyers, or investors? What's showing the most activity right now?
We're sort of seeing a pretty good with the high end was going okay. That tends to go on and off. So I'd say we're pretty consistent in suburbs that are normal, where you've got a broad range of people wanting to live there. The high end was pretty good. It seems to have softened a little bit recently, and for some reason we're carrying a lot more high-end stock than we normally would. So I'm interested in that a lot of vendors at that level have decided to exit.
Yep.
So sometimes I think when wealthy people are doing things, is there something they know that we don't know? So we've definitely got a flourish of high-end apartments. So it's probably, if you want a high-end apartment, now's a good time to be looking.
Do you know what I think is driving that behaviour? I think it's all to do with the potential self-managed super fund cap, with the $3 million cap, which is going to be taxed at a higher rate. So I think there's a lot of people shuffling assets around at the moment to minimise that into different structures.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah. And talk to me about stock levels. Have you noticed an increasing number of stock levels, and are we expecting more? As buyers agents, we always want more stock, right? Like, what are we seeing on the horizon for the number of listings coming up?
So our stock levels are what I would call normal, edging up.
Yeah.
So the number of stock that I'm probably carrying 10% more than I'd like to see, in the sense that what we consider normal turnover. And we do have more listings coming on. We are in the thick of the selling season. So August was good. September's good. We need to bring it home for October, November. So we've still got another 2 months to go. of the season, and I'm interested to see whether we continue to transact at the same level for the next couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or do things calm down a bit? Those buyers numbers that I was telling you about was worrying me a little bit. So have we got that momentum to carry us through to the end of the year?
Yeah.
So from your perspective as a buyer's agent, probably it's a good time to be out hunting.
It is. Yeah, we're noticing there's a little bit more stock, but never enough. In the particularly inner west, in Sydney, in the inner west, or Northern Beaches, or eastern suburbs, it's very constrained. But that's why we certainly rely on a lot of relationships with other agents to get access to a lot of off-market opportunities, which we do every day of the week. So yeah.
Yes.
Well, Ewan, I think we're going to bring this podcast to a close. It has been a most informative, educative podcast. Unless you had any other comments or questions you wanted to ask me.
No, not really. I mean, that was fun. I think it's good to have. I like to have robust discussions about things like underquoting, because I think there does need to be more debate amongst us as professionals as to why these things happen. But I think as we've discussed, you've got to look at the motivations of everybody in this show in order to find a solution.
That's it. And as you say, it's not an exact science, often it's, as you say, different motivations from different actors or different parts of the different parties, and also can be very much market driven. So, yeah. Well, look, thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise. I've been speaking with Ewan Morton, CEO of Morton Estate Agents across Sydney. Thank you, Morton. Thank you, Ewan, I should say.
That's all right.
Ewan, it's been great, and it was a pleasure having you on the podcast today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us on another Property Buyer podcast. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please click on the SpeakPipe link and we'll answer this during the next episode. If you're looking to buy a residential or commercial property in the near future and would like to get the added advantage of having a buyer's advocate on your side, then please reach out to my team today and send us your inquiry, and we'd be delighted to help. Please visit our website at propertybuyer.com.au, where you can stay updated with all my latest market updates, weekly blogs and live suburb profiles to help you make better property decisions. We look forward to connecting with you again on the next Property Buyer podcast.